You know how sometimes when kids really like someone, they don't really know how to express it? Maybe when you were a little boy in the first grade, you really liked a girl, so you tried to impress her. But you just didn't really know how to get the right words out. Next thing you know, you're insulting her.
Why did you do that? Because you smell like dog poo. You're so stupid, just like dog poo. You're made out of poo.
Or maybe when you got into your teens, you wanted to tell your crush how you felt. You know, you wanted to go on a date with her. But instead, you just botched your words and it all came out wrong.
I'm George McFly. I'm your density. I mean, your destiny.
Insulting people you're trying to win over is what the Democrats do best. Whether it's labeling parents domestic terrorists, calling all whites racists, calling Iowa flyover country, or Texans Neanderthals, the Democrats, let's just say, have a way with words. And they don't know how to act around people different than they are. Like when failed 2020 Democrat presidential candidate Tom Steyer tried to dance like that to impress black people. Remember when Pelosi and other Democrats wore tribal gear from Ghana and kneeled in the Capitol for George Floyd? Or who could forget Hillary pandering to black voters and asking, is it working?
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting information right now? Hot sauce. Hot sauce in my bag, Swag?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now, listen, I just want you to know, people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people.
Okay. Is it working?
White Democrats pandering to ethnic groups always backfires. Sometimes when you're old and cranky, you just kind of lash out and tell minorities what you really think.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Biden's been pandering to ethnic groups his entire career. This moment 15 years ago helped knock him out of the Democratic primary.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
But with black Americans pretty reliably Democrat, the party's got their eyes on America's fastest growing ethnic group, Hispanics. And 2 years ago, spent a lot of time working on their Spanglish.
Necesitamos incluir cada persona en el éxito de esta economía.
Con la comunidad latina, parte de la comunidad americana, vamos a tener una victoria grande.
El presidente es el presidente de todo el pueblo que sabe.
Political correctness has now made it impossible for white Democrats to pander to ethnic groups without looking like awkward hypocrites. Not a single Latino has ever asked a Democrat to call them Latinx. But Democrats continue to use the word Latinx all over the place. We don't know what it means, and neither do Hispanics. So why do they keep saying that?
It's awful hard as well to get Latinx vaccinated as well.
The Democrats are getting desperate because Trump increased his share of the Hispanic vote, and Biden's approval ratings with Hispanics now in the 20s. With numbers like that, the Democrat Rainbow Coalition collapses, and they'll never win another national election again. So the Brain Trust and the Democratic Party had a meeting. It was very urgent. Things were dire. Guys, what do Hispanics like? They like tacos, right? Well, who doesn't like tacos? Those things are great. Let's talk about how Hispanics are like tacos. Delicious and satisfying. Yesterday, some idiot who was in that meeting wrote a speech for the First Lady. And Dr. Jill was speaking in front of the biggest Latino civil rights and advocacy group in the country. And this is what they made her read off the teleprompter.
Raul helped build this organization with the understanding that the diversity of this community, as distinct as the Bogotas of the Bronx, as beautiful as the blossoms of Miami, and as unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio, is your strength.
Aside from butchering the word bodega, the First Lady said Hispanics are just like tacos. You can go to an Italian conference and say you like Italian food, but you can't call the Italians a bunch of meatballs. The National Association of Hispanic Journalists slammed Dr. Jill Biden, writing this: using breakfast tacos to try to demonstrate the uniqueness of Latinos in San Antonio demonstrates a lack of cultural knowledge and sensitivity to the diversity of Latinos in the region. We are not tacos. Hispanics just told the First Lady, we are not tacos. I can't even believe this is happening. Hasn't Joe had enough family drama, you know, with Hunter's laptop and Ashley's diary? Now his wife's making him look bad? No bueno. You know things are bad for Democrats when Whoopi Goldberg criticizes you.
I would be upset if somebody said you bring the chicken out in people.
Yeah.
You know, I
don't know who yeah.
That's kind of what, you know, that's...
It was.
Yeah, in case you're not... This is what...
It was a racial stereotype.
Then the First Lady had to apologize for calling Hispanics tacos. Her press secretary said, the First Lady apologizes that her words conveyed anything but pure admiration and love for tacos. I mean the Latino community. And this happened on the same day the Mexican president visited Joe at the White House. Now, Jesse Waters' Primetime hasn't confirmed what was on the menu tonight, but we hope it wasn't what you think it was. But this is shocking coming from Jill Biden, who has really deep Spanish roots.
Say it with me. Si se puede. The future is ours.
Si se puede. Perfect. Well, I mean, at least Jill tries to speak Spanish. Her husband, on the other hand, he panders with music.
I just have one thing to say. Hang on there. All right. There you go. Dance a little bit, Joe. Come on.
Maybe Biden should take some advice on the proper way to pander to Hispanics. You know, like Trump tweeted, happy Cinco de Mayo, the best taco bowls are made in Trump Tower Grill. I love Hispanics. But Hispanics don't want to hear about identity politics. They want to hear about lowering gas prices or security at the border or fighting crime, anything but tacos. Biden met with the Mexican president today at the White House to discuss our relationship, and all he did was offer up empty words on the border crisis.
The U.S.-Mexico relationship is vital to achieve our goals of everything from the fight against COVID-19 to continuing to grow our economies, to strengthening our partnerships and addressing migration as a shared hemispheric challenge.
Why does he have to even read that? All you have to say is, we love our neighbor in Mexico, we're strong, we have a great partnership, we're working on things together. Why does he have to read that? The worst thing about Biden is that you can't trust a word that comes out of his mouth. He's all talk, no action. He said today his administration's been working hard with their anti-fentanyl smuggling operation that they created in April. Did you guys even know about that? More and more Americans are dying every day. And, of course, Biden refused to take questions after he spoke because he has no answers to anything.
Mr. President, any message to DeMarcus Shows' family before you leave? Any comment on Iran?
Mr. President, any comment on your wife calling Mexican Americans tacos? No? Okay. It's shameful. He just ignores the press, like he ignores death at the border, the fentanyl and the meth being smuggled in, the trafficking that's occurring all under his watch. He can't explain anything that's going on right now. 2 Mexican drug cartel smugglers were just busted in 2 separate instances in New York City last week with a total, are you ready, $1.2 million worth of crystal meth. They were both arrested and arraigned in Manhattan criminal court, and you guessed it, they were let go. See, New York law doesn't count meth as a narcotic, so it's just a controlled substance, like Adderall, I guess. So they could only be charged with second-degree criminal possession, and they get bail for second degree. So Mexican drug cartels with tons of meth are just being released on bail, supervised release. We have our eyes on them. And they just disappear in the middle of the night. You'll never see them again. Over in San Diego, you remember that report we did last week? Over 5,000 pounds of meth was seized after it was smuggled from Mexico. Cartels just drove it right into the country, right into California. And Border Patrol agents are working overtime trying to control all this. Biden's not helping them. He's calling them racist. He's calling them horsewhippers. He wants them fired. If you don't take the vax, you're fired. And if you try to control the border, you're fired too. I mean, there've been several major arrests by Border Patrol. Jorge Adolfo Diaz Perez, a Mexican national, was arrested in Texas after crossing back into the country. In 2012, he was convicted of indecent contact with a 6-year-old in Texas. Or this guy, Vicente Tapia Solano, another Mexican national, arrested last week crossing into the country. He's previously been convicted of forcible sexual abuse in Utah. Miguel Garcia Lopez re-entered the country yesterday before being arrested. He was previously deported after serving 12 years in Florida for manslaughter. Great. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There were more arrested with convictions for some really sick crimes against children. So next time the Bidens and the Democrats try to pander to Hispanics, they need to remember the very real crisis that they are creating here at the border. Latinos don't want to be woke. They don't want Joe to play Despacito. They want safety. They want their kids to live freely and not have to step over fentanyl when they go to school or be raped. Democrats need to stop virtue signaling, trying to win over minorities with all these embarrassing stunts, and focus on what really matters to every single American: safety and security and cheap gas.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.